Gary Vee explains that Twitter can be one of the most powerful tools in social media for building your business. Gary Vee himself uses the Twitter platform above all to build his wine business. But he gives a very important caveat, and that is to avoid the following mistake that most marketers treat Twitter as an extension of their blog, simply a place to put a link to content that exists elsewhere. Problem is, there's such a deluge of information on Twitter that it's just not going to have an impact on your audience. Instead, Gary Vee says, treat Twitter as an opportunity to DJ information, whether it's information that you create or you're disseminating someone else's tweet. The thing is that Twitter has a lot of built-in power tools as well. And these tools allow you to track the most current trends, be they international, national, and even regional. And for that reason, Gary Vee says you should concentrate on using trending hashtags rather than trying to invent your own. Because the trending hashtags, will have some impact on your audience. I remember a couple of years ago, there was a soccer game, and in that game, I think the Italian player bit his opponent. And the next day, one of the trending hashtags was hashtag bite. Well, it just so happens that for my international trade blog, the results for Italian exports had just come out. So I immediately tweeted using hashtag bite and got a lot of traction because I guess there's a lot of nationalistic Italian soccer fans who also want to see how well Italy's exports are making out as well. But if I was to use hashtag bite today or randomly, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have the same impact as when the hashtag itself is pending and very popular. And you need to research to see what hashtags are doing well if you want to DJ your content, I should say, around that hashtag. Gary also makes a really good point too, in that don't try to be more cool than you actually are. Gary's an extrovert. Gary's someone who likes the attention. So his idea of being hip, and he probably is, a lot more hip than someone like myself, for example. I tend to be more studious. I'm the type of blogger that likes research-oriented articles. I like statistics. So there are different types of bloggers. Some people prefer doing question and answer or how-to blog articles. Others like to do straight interviews and question and answers from a subject matter expert. But Gary goes out of his way that you should be true to yourself, because that voice will come through even in a platform, or particularly in a platform like Twitter. Even though you're only limited to 140 characters, people are very, very focused on understanding whether your voice is consistent, whether it makes sense, and whether you're authentic. Now, Gary also provides 20 critiques of tweets. Some of them are sponsored Twitter ads. Some of them are just regular tweets presenting the good and bad sides. And I've included those again in the presentation following my little narrative here. But there were a couple of things, just a couple of minor things that I didn't like about this chapter. And one of them was Gary was talking about learning how to use Twitter effectively. And what he did was he actually says that the why and how, if you want to learn about that, you should refer to Gary's other book, which is called The Thank You Economy. And I felt that was not only promotional. I mean, the fact is, this book jab, 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 right hook costs $34.95 plus tax. And I want to know now. I don't want to have to refer back to the Thank You Economy. And if this book is any indication, that particular book's not going to have an index or a detailed table of contents. To find the specific reference would be difficult. So I thought that was it didn't really add anything to what I learned from this particular chapter. The other thing is that in my Facebook review, I was talking about how Gary doesn't provide an index, and he puts a checklist of questions to ask when you're vetting your own social media content, and this time for Twitter. He puts it at the end of the chapter, but I was really surprised because Gary kept talking about context is more important on Twitter than your actual content, in part because of the 140 character limitation, and also because of just the torrent of information you're competing against. But Gary didn't mention the fact that you should only have one single call to action in your tweet. This is something that you'll see that Gary talks about in some of the 20 examples he provided, but I was really surprised that he didn't include that on the checklist of essential items and questions to ask when you review your own content.